Hello and welcome. I'm Aiden, your narrator for tonight. Let's take this time together to step away from the rush of the day and ease into a world of dreams and wonder. Tonight, I'll tell you a gentle and comforting tale called A Simple Day at Home. A soft story about slowing down, rediscovering forgotten memories, and finding peace in the quiet corners of an ordinary day. But before we begin, we'd love to hear from you. Where are you listening from? And what time is it as you settle in to hear this story? We'd also love to know what kinds of stories you'd enjoy next. Your thoughts and suggestions inspire us, so please share them in the comments below. If you've been enjoying our bedtime stories, subscribing is a simple and free way to support us. Your support means the world to us, and together we can make this channel an even more peaceful place for storytelling. Now, take a slow, gentle breath. Let your shoulders soften and allow the tension that has followed you through the day to quietly drift away. Feel the weight of your body sinking slightly deeper into your bed or wherever you're resting. Notice the stillness around you, the softness of the air, and the way the quiet evening seems to hold you with a gentle, reassuring embrace. Let your breath settle into a calm, steady rhythm, slow, warm, and easy. As you breathe, picture yourself in a calm, cozy space where nothing is rushed and everything feels light. A place where the world outside grows dim and distant, and only peace remains close to you. Let each breath guide you deeper into comfort, until your mind begins to soften and your thoughts begin to drift. In a moment, we'll step together into our story. A story of morning light, quiet rituals, the soothing rhythm of rain, and a small forgotten box waiting to be opened. A story that moves gently, like a warm breeze through an open window. When you're ready, allow your eyes, whether open or closed, to relax completely. Feel your body ease into stillness and let the world around you fade into a soft, restful glow. And now, let us begin. Soft morning light drifted into Emari's room long before the day fully began, brushing gently across the walls in warm golden strokes. It was the kind of sunlight that didn't rush or demand attention. It simply arrived, quietly and with grace, as if inviting the world to wake at its own calm pace. Emari stirred beneath the light blanket, feeling the gentle warmth settle over their face. For a moment, they remained still, listening to the hush of the early morning. The house was peaceful. The air was cool. Outside the window, a pair of birds chirped softly, their voices weaving a melody that blended perfectly with the stillness of dawn. Emari opened their eyes slowly, stretching in the quiet glow of the new day. There was no hurry, not today. Today would be simple, gentle, and slow. A little reminder that life didn't always need to be busy to feel full. With a small smile, Emari rolled onto their side and watched the patterns of light flicker across the curtains. The sunlight shifted like ripples on water, soft and golden, casting comforting shadows that danced along the room. It felt like waking inside a warm dream. When Emari finally rose, their feet met the cool wooden floor with a quiet, grounding comfort. The air carried a faint scent of the night that had just passed, mixed with the freshness of early morning. Emari walked toward the window, drawing the curtains slightly aside. A soft breeze slipped in, carrying with it the sound of rustling leaves and distant morning birds. The world outside looked peaceful, dewdrops resting on the grass, sunlight glimmering on rooftops, and a sky painted in the softest pastel hues. Standing there, Emari breathed in deeply, letting the calm settle through their chest and shoulders. Each breath felt slower, deeper, as though the world itself encouraged rest. It was rare to feel a morning so gentle, and Emari allowed every bit of that tranquility to sink in. The day ahead held no obligations, no noise, no rush. Just silence, softness, and space to simply be. Turning away from the window, Emari took a moment to glance around the room. The neatly folded blanket at the foot of the bed, the small shelf lined with books, the wooden table resting beneath a soft scatter of morning light. Everything felt familiar, safe, and welcoming, as though the house itself had woken early just to greet them. Emari smiled quietly, feeling a warm sense of gratitude rise within. It wasn't a grand moment. It wasn't extraordinary. But sometimes the simplest mornings were the ones that warmed the heart the most. Today would be one of those days, a day of gentle beginnings, soft thoughts, and peaceful moments waiting to unfold. And with the sunlight guiding them, Emari stepped into their simple day at home. The morning drifted forward with a soft, unhurried grace as Emari stepped into the kitchen. The wooden floor creaked lightly underfoot, a familiar and comforting sound that echoed the rhythm of countless mornings before. A gentle stream of sunlight filtered through the small window above the counter, catching dust motes in the air and turning them into tiny, drifting stars. Everything felt slow, warm, and beautifully ordinary. Emari filled a small kettle with water and placed it on the stove. As the flame flickered to life, its gentle hum blended with the quiet morning around them. There was a soothing pleasure in these simple rituals, things done so often that their familiarity became a comfort in itself. Emari leaned their palms on the counter and breathed in the soft promise of tea that was only moments away. The warmth of the stove slowly reached their fingertips, spreading upward into their arms like a cozy invitation to settle deeper into the day. While waiting for the water to warm, Emari moved through the house with deliberate calm. They opened the living room windows, letting in a cool breeze that carried the faint sweetness of morning air. The curtains swayed gently, brushing softly against the walls, like they, too, were waking slowly from a peaceful night. Emari straightened a small stack of books on the table, ran a hand along the back of the sofa to smooth its fabric, and placed a small plant closer to the sunlit patch near the window. Every gesture was quiet, intentional, and grounding. These small rituals felt like a language of care for the home, for the moment, and for themselves. Nothing needed to be perfect. Nothing needed to be rushed. The simplicity of it all softened something inside Emari's heart, reminding them that peace often came not from grand moments, but from the quiet ones. The kettle whistled gently, its clear sound floating through the still air. Emari returned to the kitchen and poured the warm water into a familiar ceramic cup, watching the steam rise in thin, graceful curls. The scent of tea, earthy, floral, soothing, filled the room almost instantly. Emari cupped the warm mug with both hands, feeling its gentle heat seep into their palms. There was something incredibly calming about holding warmth so close, especially in the delicate quiet of morning. They carried the tea to the small table near the open window and took a slow sip. The warmth settled into their chest, bringing with it a wave of comfort that spread through their whole body. Outside, the breeze carried the soft rustle of leaves and the distant chirping of birds, tiny sounds that wove together into a peaceful morning song. Emari closed their eyes for a moment, letting the tea, the air, and the sunlight wrap around them like a gentle embrace. There was no noise, no rush, no pressure, just this moment, this simple ritual, this quiet beginning to a simple day at home. And as Emari took another slow sip, they felt grateful for these small, steady pieces of life that had the power to soothe the soul without ever asking for anything in return. The soft warmth of the tea lingered pleasantly within Emari's chest as they drifted toward the kitchen once more, ready to prepare a simple breakfast. The morning light had grown brighter now, touching every corner of the room with a gentle glow that made even the smallest objects feel special. The wooden tabletop shone softly beneath the sunlight, its grain warm and familiar beneath Emari's fingertips. They gathered the ingredients slowly, enjoying the peaceful rhythm of each movement. A slice of bread placed into the toaster, a small jar of honey set on the counter, a bowl of freshly washed fruit waiting nearby. Nothing about breakfast needed to be complex. In fact, the simplicity made it all the more comforting. Emari cut the fruit into soft, colorful pieces. Ripe berries, crisp apple slices, a few wedges of orange that released a bright scent into the air. Each slice felt like a tiny act of mindfulness. When the toast popped up, warm and golden, Emari spread a thin layer of honey over it. The honey glistened like liquid sunlight, catching the morning glow in tiny golden mirrors. The sweet smell mingled with the soft fragrance of the tea still lingering nearby. Emari paused for a moment just to admire it all. The shine of the honey, the vibrant colors of the fruit, the way the steam from the cup curled upward in a slow, delicate dance. It felt peaceful to appreciate these little details so often overlooked in the rush of everyday life. Carrying the plate and cup to the small table by the window, Emari settled into the chair, feeling the gentle breeze brush against their skin. The world outside was awake now, but still quiet. The birds were more lively, hopping along branches and filling the morning with their soft conversation. Leaves rustled as the breeze drifted through them, creating a soothing backdrop to the stillness inside the home. Emari took a slow bite of the toast, savoring the sweetness of the honey as it melted on their tongue. Then a sip of tea, warm and smooth, grounding them even further in the moment. There was no need for screens or background noise, just the quiet hum of morning, the taste of simple food, and the comfort of being fully present. As they ate, Emari let their eyes wander around the room and out the window. Everything felt calm, untouched by urgency. The light shifted as clouds drifted lazily overhead, casting soft shadows that moved gently across the floor. The world's rhythm seemed slower today, inviting Emari to match its pace. It was a small breakfast, but it filled more than just the stomach. It filled the room with warmth, filled Emari's mind with peace, and filled the morning with meaning. In the quiet simplicity of the moment, Emari felt deeply grounded, connected to themselves, to the day, and to the ease that comes from choosing to slow down. With each bite and sip, the world felt gentler, softer, more welcoming. And as the last bit of honeyed toast disappeared, Emari leaned back slightly in their chair, letting the peaceful morning settle deeper into their heart. Today, they thought, would continue to unfold just like this, slow, calm, and beautifully simple. After finishing breakfast, Emari carried the empty cup and plate back to the kitchen, washing them slowly in warm, soapy water. The gentle rhythm of cleaning, water running, dishes clinking softly, felt almost meditative. Once everything was neatly dried and set aside, Emari wandered back into the living room with no particular plan in mind. The day still felt open and spacious, leaving room for small surprises to unfold naturally. Sunlight streamed through the windows in soft golden sheets, illuminating corners of the home that often went unnoticed. Emari's eyes drifted toward a low wooden shelf tucked against the far wall. It held a scattering of simple things: old books, a tiny vase, a few trinkets collected over the years. Emari knelt beside it, running a hand along the smooth top before deciding, gently, that it might be a good time to tidy it a little. One by one, they lifted the books, dusting each cover with a light swipe of the hand. The air filled with the faint scent of old paper and sunshine. As Emari moved aside a small wooden carving, their fingers brushed against a drawer handle, one they hadn't touched in a long while. The drawer barely stood out. It blended so naturally with the shelf that Emari often forgot it existed at all. Curiosity warmed the quiet moment. Emari hesitated for just a heartbeat, then slowly pulled the drawer open. A faint creak broke the silence, followed by a tiny swirl of dust rising gently into the light. Inside, beneath a thin layer of time, rested a small wooden box. The box was smooth, polished from years long past, its surface etched with tiny swirling patterns that Emari vaguely remembered holding significance once. But the memory fluttered away as quickly as it surfaced. The box felt strangely familiar, like something from a dream half remembered. Emari lifted it carefully from the drawer, holding it with both hands, surprised by the lightness of it. They sat down on the floor, placing the box gently on the small table nearby. The simple act of finding it filled the room with a quiet, unexpected wonder. Emari traced their fingertips along the carved patterns, feeling the delicate grooves beneath their touch. It was beautiful in its simplicity, carrying a silence that suggested secrets tucked away inside. But Emari didn't open it. Not yet. Instead, they sat back and observed it thoughtfully. The morning stillness wrapped around them, and the box sat patiently in the center of it all, like a guest that had traveled a long distance just to be remembered. A soft question hovered in the air. Why had it been hidden for so long? Emari tried to recall the last time they had seen it, but the memory slipped through their mind like water between fingers. The only thing they could feel for certain was that this box mattered, perhaps more than they knew. Whatever it contained could wait for the right moment. And in the gentle quiet of the morning, with sunlight warming the floor and the soft rustle of leaves drifting through the open windows, Emari sensed that the right moment wasn't far away. For now, they placed the wooden box on the table, where its presence felt steady, calm, and quietly inviting. A forgotten drawer had offered an unexpected treasure, and the day was beginning to unfold with a hint of mystery woven through its simple, peaceful rhythm. As midday drifted closer, the warm sunlight that had gently filled the house began to dim. Emari glanced toward the window, noticing the sky shifting from soft blue to a muted grey. Clouds gathered slowly, like quiet guests arriving at the edge of the horizon. Their shapes were soft and rounded, the kind that promised a gentle rain rather than a storm. Emari felt a calm anticipation settle in their chest. There was something comforting about an afternoon touched by rain. A low hush rolled through the air as the first drops began to fall. They tapped lightly against the window pane, scattered and tentative, before settling into a steady, soothing rhythm. The house responded instantly. The light dimmed into a warm, cozy glow, and the air grew cooler, wrapping the room in a soft embrace. Emari loved this kind of moment, when the world slowed down even more, encouraging quiet reflection and gentle thoughts. They reached for a small lamp sitting near the window. Its warm light filled the room with a golden softness, blending beautifully with the grey outside. The lamp's glow reflected faintly on the wooden box resting on the table, giving it an almost living warmth, as if it were waiting patiently for its story to be opened. The Emari brushed a thumb across its lid, but decided once more not to rush. The box held something important, but the moment to uncover it still needed to arrive naturally. For now, the sound of the rain felt like the right thing to focus on. Emari settled into a cushioned chair beside the window, pulling a light blanket over their lap. The fabric was soft and familiar, gently warming their legs as the cool air drifted through the barely cracked window. The rain's rhythm deepened, becoming a soft chorus of taps and rustles on the rooftop, each droplet contributing to a calming symphony that filled the entire home. Outside, the garden transformed under the rainfall. The leaves glistened, darkened by moisture, trembling gently each time a droplet fell upon them. The world looked slower, gentler, almost dreamlike. A faint scent of rain, fresh, earthy, and clean, slipped into the house, mixing beautifully with the warm aroma of wood and tea. Emari closed their eyes for a moment, simply listening. The rain carried memories with it, of afternoons spent reading as a child, of quiet days when the world felt soft and safe, of times when slowing down felt like the only thing that truly mattered. The house seemed to breathe with them, expanding and easing as the rain continued its tender fall. Minutes passed like slow-moving clouds. Emari's thoughts drifted, calm and unhurried. Their gaze eventually settled once more on the wooden box illuminated by the lamp. It seemed to glow just a little brighter in the dimmed room, as though the rain outside was coaxing its story forward. Perhaps, Emari thought softly, the rain had arrived to give them the quiet they needed. A quiet that would finally guide them toward opening the box and rediscovering whatever memories it held inside. But not just yet. For now, Emari simply let the rain speak. Its soft tapping filled the home with the kind of peaceful music that only gentle afternoons could offer. Wrapped in the warmth of the blanket and the hush of rainfall, Emari allowed themselves to drift deeper into calm, letting the simple beauty of the moment carry them through the quiet heart of the day. The rain outside softened into a steady, peaceful drizzle, creating a soothing blanket of sound that wrapped itself around the quiet home. Emari sat still for a long moment, listening as the soft rhythm filled the room. The wooden box on the table seemed to glow gently under the lamplight, its surface warm and inviting. There was no rush, but something in the air had shifted, an unspoken nudge, a quiet readiness. Emari rose from the chair, pulling the light blanket around their shoulders as they walked toward the table. The room felt different now, almost as if the rain had washed away the last bits of hesitation lingering in the air. Emari settled onto the floor, legs crossed comfortably, and placed both hands on the box. The wood felt familiar beneath their palms, smooth, warm, holding a softness that came only from years of being touched, held, and carried. With a slow, steady breath, Emari lifted the lid. Inside, a soft scent of old paper and faint memories drifted upward, gentle and nostalgic. The first thing Emari noticed was a small bundle of letters tied together with a thin, faded string. The paper had yellowed slightly with age, edges curled and delicate, each envelope carefully addressed in handwriting that felt incredibly familiar. Emari brushed a finger lightly over the top letter, feeling an ache of recognition they couldn't yet place. Beside the letters lay a tiny paper crane, its folds neat but softened over time. Emari smiled softly, remembering that they once loved folding paper animals, filling entire afternoons with tiny creations. The crane's wings were slightly bent, as though it had been waiting quietly to be noticed again. Next to it rested a pressed flower, thin and fragile, its petals still carrying a faint hint of color. It looked like a small wildflower from a place Emari hadn't visited in years. Holding it felt like holding a moment from childhood, a moment preserved in stillness, waiting patiently in the dark. There was also a small seashell, smooth and pale, shaped like a tiny spiral. Emari lifted it gently, feeling its familiar curve. The memory it carried was distant, but comforting. A day spent near the water, searching for shells with someone dear, laughing as the waves lapped at their ankles. Each item seemed like a doorway, a quiet invitation to remember. But what caught Emari's attention most was a small folded note resting at the bottom of the box. Unlike the letters, this one wasn't tied or sealed. It lay simply and softly, as though it had always been waiting for this exact moment. Emari carefully unfolded it. The handwriting was unmistakably their own, smaller, more rounded, written with the earnestness and hope of someone much younger. At the top, in gentle strokes of ink almost faded by time, were the words, "To my future self." A warm breath left Emari's lips. They held the note delicately, hearts swelling with a mixture of curiosity, nostalgia, and something deeper, something tender and long forgotten. The rain outside tapped gently on the window, as if encouraging Emari to continue. They smoothed the note open completely, ready to read the words their younger self had left behind. A message written long ago, preserved through years of busyness, waiting for this quiet moment of rediscovery. Emari didn't know what the note contained yet, but they knew one thing for certain. Whatever was written there would carry a piece of who they once were, and perhaps a reminder of who they still were beneath the noise of growing up. With the soft sound of rain as their backdrop, Emari prepared to read the message from a younger version of themselves. A message meant to be found exactly on a simple day like today. Emari held the note with both hands, feeling its delicate edges tremble slightly, not from the paper, but from the quiet emotion settling in their chest. The room was still except for the rain's steady whisper against the windows, as though the entire house had leaned in to listen. With a slow inhale, Emari lowered their gaze to the faded ink and began to read. The handwriting was unmistakably theirs, written in a time when the world felt bigger, brighter, and simpler. The letters curved playfully, like the writing of someone who believed deeply in small wonders. "Dear future me," the note began. "If you're reading this, I hope you're smiling. I hope you still remember the little things that make life happy, like quiet mornings, warm tea, soft rain, and the way the world looks when the day is just beginning." Emari's breath caught gently. A soft warmth washed through them as they continued. "Don't forget to slow down sometimes. Grown-ups forget that. But you don't have to. You promised me you wouldn't. You promised you would keep noticing the tiny things, even when life feels busy. Because tiny things matter. They're the magic parts." A faint ache bloomed in Emari's chest. Not painful, but tender, like touching the edge of a long-forgotten dream. They hadn't realized how far they had drifted from this promise. How many mornings had passed in a blur. How many small joys had been overlooked. Yet here they were, rediscovering the simple beauty of an ordinary day, guided by a voice from the past. "I hope you still do the things that make you happy," the younger Emari had written. "Like reading stories, watching the rain, keeping special things safe, and being kind to yourself. You're allowed to rest. You're allowed to feel peaceful. Don't let the world make you forget." Emari closed their eyes for a moment, letting the words sink in. It felt as though their younger self had reached across time, gently placing a hand on their shoulder and reminding them of something they desperately needed, but hadn't known how to ask for. permission to slow down. When they opened their eyes again, the note's final lines glowed softly in the warm lamplight. If you ever find this box, it means you need to remember what matters. It means you need a quiet day, a soft day, a simple day at home. A small, breathy laugh escaped Emari, touched with emotion. It was almost unbelievable. How perfectly the moment aligned, how gently the message landed in their heart. This forgotten promise, tucked away inside an old wooden box, had arrived at exactly the right time. As Emari folded the note with care, the rain outside softened further, as if approving of the rediscovered truth. They placed the note atop the other keepsakes, touching each item with a renewed tenderness. Every piece inside the box suddenly felt more alive, more meaningful. The tea, the morning sun, the quiet breakfast, all the small rituals Emari had drifted through earlier, felt like a path leading back to this exact realization. A reminder crafted long ago by a younger self who already understood the kind of peace Emari needed today. With a slow, grateful breath, Emari closed the box gently. The forgotten promise was no longer forgotten. It had returned with warmth, clarity, and a comforting assurance that life's beauty was always in the simplest of moments. And today, Emari had finally remembered. The rain outside softened into a distant murmur, like a gentle hush sifting through the air. Emari remained seated beside the wooden box, their fingers resting lightly on the lid as a tender calm washed over them. The message from their younger self lingered warmly in their heart, stirring memories that had long settled into the quiet corners of their mind. Slowly, those memories began to rise, soft, glowing, and full of warmth. Emari leaned back slightly, letting their body relax into the gentle silence. The room felt wrapped in a comforting stillness, as though the past and present were sitting together in peaceful conversation. The paper crane, the pressed flower, the seashell. They weren't just objects now. They were doors, each one opening into a memory that held its own soft glow. The first memory drifted in like a warm breeze. Emari as a child, running barefoot through a sunlit garden. The grass was cool under their feet, the air filled with the scent of earth and blooming flowers. They remembered laughter, light, unburdened, echoing through the tall stems as their younger self chased butterflies that fluttered just out of reach. The world then had been bright, simple, endlessly full of wonder. Another memory followed, gentle as a whisper. Emari's small hands reaching into a shallow tide pool at the beach, searching for seashells. They could almost feel the cool water again, the smooth stones beneath their fingers, the thrill of discovering the tiny spiral shell now resting in the box. The sun had been warm on their back that day, and the waves had hummed a soothing song that felt strangely similar to the rain falling outside now. Then came the image of a quiet afternoon spent folding paper animals. Little Emari sat cross-legged on the floor, tongue peeking slightly from the corner of their mouth as they focused on creasing the paper just right. When the crane finally took shape, they had held it proudly, marveling at how something so small and delicate could bring so much joy. Emari smiled softly at the memory. It was one of the first moments they learned how gentle patience could create something beautiful. More memories shimmered gently at the edges of Emari's mind. Moments of being read to by a soft voice, of watching sunsets without needing to fill the silence, of collecting tiny treasures and keeping them safe because they made the world feel magical. These memories weren't grand or extraordinary, but they carried a warmth that felt deeper than anything else. They held innocence, comfort, and a sincerity that adulthood often forgets. Emari let these memories wash over them like the warm glow of candlelight. Each one soothed something inside, something tired, something weary, something that had been quietly missing the softness of simple days. The rain's gentle tapping filled the spaces between the images, weaving them together into a peaceful tapestry of who Emari had been and who they still were beneath the layers of grown-up responsibilities. Slowly, Emari opened their eyes. The room looked the same, yet felt entirely different. The air felt warmer, as though the memories themselves were radiating gentle light. The wooden box rested on the table, no longer just a forgotten object, now a vessel of meaning, a bridge between past and present. Emari drew a deep, steady breath and let it out slowly, feeling their whole body soften. The rediscovered memories didn't weigh on them. They lifted them, filling the room with quiet joy. They felt grateful, peaceful, and strangely anchored, as though they had stepped into a part of themselves they didn't realize they had been missing. Outside, the rain continued its tender rhythm. Inside, Emari felt their hearts settle into a warmth that would linger long after the raindrops stopped falling. The day, meant to be simple, had become something deeper, something healing. And as the memories gently folded back into the quiet of the room, Emari felt ready to embrace the rest of the evening with a newfound softness. As the afternoon rain gradually faded, the soft sound of droplets gave way to a tranquil stillness that wrapped gently around the home. Emari rose from the floor, feeling lighter, as though the memories tucked inside the wooden box had quietly brushed away a weight they hadn't realized they were carrying. The house felt warmer somehow, not in temperature, but in spirit, as if the rediscovered memories had filled every corner with a gentle, glowing light. Emari moved toward the kitchen with an unhurried calm, the kind that follows a long moment of clarity. The sky outside was slowly shifting toward evening soft hues of gold and lavender stretching across the clouds. The room welcomed the change, darkening in tender, gradual shades as Emari began preparing a simple dinner. They sliced vegetables with slow, mindful motions, enjoying the crisp sound of the knife against the cutting board. The warmth from the stove mingled with the cool air drifting through the slightly open window. As Emari stirred a small pot, the aroma of warm broth filled the kitchen, weaving itself into the soothing quiet of the evening. There was no rush, no clutter of thoughts, only the comfort of creating something nourishing, both for the body and for the heart. Once the meal was ready, Emari set the bowl on the dining table and lit a small candle beside it. The flame flickered softly, casting golden ripples across the room. They ate slowly, savoring each bite, feeling grounded and connected to the moment. Outside, the last remaining traces of rain shimmered on the leaves, catching the final rays of sunlight as day began to settle gently into dusk. When the meal was finished, Emari moved back into the living room. The wooden box still sat where they had left it earlier, now glowing faintly under the soft caress of the fading light. It looked less mysterious now, no longer a forgotten relic, but a cherished reminder of who they were, who they had been, and who they wanted to continue becoming. Emari picked up the box and walked toward the shelf, selecting a special place where it could sit in the open, no longer tucked away in shadow. They placed it gently on the middle shelf, where the light from the window touched it each evening. For the first time, the box felt like it belonged there, visible, meaningful, and part of the home's quiet heart. As Emari stepped back to look at it, a warm glow filled the room. The sun had dipped lower, painting the walls in a soft amber light. Shadows stretched long and gentle, swaying slightly as the breeze moved the curtains. Everything felt peaceful, beautifully, effortlessly peaceful. In the golden hush of the evening, Emari sank into the small sofa with a blanket draped across their lap. They watched as the sky deepened to a soft violet, tiny stars beginning to shimmer in the growing darkness. The world outside seemed to exhale, settling into its nighttime rhythm. The house echoed that quiet exhale, inviting Emari deeper into rest. Tonight, the simple day at home had brought Emari more than they expected. Rest, reflection, rediscovery, and a gentle reconnection with a piece of their own heart. As the last hints of daylight melted into night, Emari closed their eyes, letting the warmth of the evening glow fill them with a feeling that was both nostalgic and new. A feeling of being whole, calm, and quietly renewed. Night settled softly over the home, wrapping everything in a calm, velvety darkness that felt gentle rather than heavy. The golden hues of sunset faded into deep shades of blue, and the first stars began to shimmer faintly above the quiet world outside. Emari moved slowly through the house, turning off lamps one by one, allowing the soothing darkness to take its place. Each corner felt peaceful, each movement unhurried, like the day itself was guiding Emari toward a tender, restful close. The air held the faint coolness that always came after rain. Emari breathed it in as they made their way to the bedroom, feeling it ease into their chest like a quiet sigh. The sheets were smooth, the room dim, the soft glow of moonlight slipping gently through the curtains. Everything felt exactly as it needed to be, calm, still, comforting. Emari sat on the edge of the bed for a moment, letting the events of the day drift through their thoughts. The quiet morning light, the slow breakfast, the rain tapping gently on the window, the wooden box with its forgotten treasures, and the letter, the message from a younger self that had softened something deep inside. It was amazing how a simple day, wrapped in small rituals and quiet moments, could bring so much clarity and peace. They lay down, pulling the blanket up and letting the pillow cradle their head. The moonlight fell across the room in a soft silver line, barely bright enough to illuminate the furniture, but strong enough to bring a sense of serenity that settled into Emari's bones. They let their body sink deeper into the mattress, releasing the last threads of tension. From the living room, the wooden box seemed to hold a presence, even from afar. Emari pictured it resting proudly on the shelf, no longer forgotten, no longer hidden away. It felt symbolic, like the rediscovered promise itself was finally being honored. A reminder that peace didn't come from seeking something extraordinary, but from remembering the beauty of ordinary days. Emari's breathing began to slow, each breath softer and quieter than the last. Their eyes grew heavier, fluttering gently with the kind of tiredness that felt tender rather than draining. A calm warmth bloomed in their chest, filling them with the quiet satisfaction of a day that had unfolded exactly as it needed to. Just before sleep washed over them, Emari let one final thought drift through their mind. Life doesn't always need to be grand to be meaningful. Sometimes the simplest days are the ones that bring the heart home. A small smile touched Emari's lips. The room grew still. The world outside softened into silence. And in the gentle cradle of night, Emari drifted slowly, peacefully, into sleep, wrapped in the calm of a simple day at home and the comforting glow of rediscovered memories. And so the day ended exactly as it began, quietly, softly, and full of gentle wonder.